The first battle you ever face in life isn't with the outside world. It's not with the economy or society or your enemies or even the people who have wronged you. The very first and the most important battle is fought within your own skin, inside the space between your ears. And this is what most people never truly grasp. They believe the problem is always out there, always external, the government, the boss, the family, the circumstances. But the truth, the uncomfortable, goosebump-inducing truth, is that until you take responsibility for the battlefield within, nothing out there will ever bend in your favor. Think about it for a moment. When you wake up in the morning, what's the first voice you hear? Is it a voice of confidence, pushing you forward, telling you you're capable of more than you imagine? Or is it the voice of hesitation, whispering excuses, telling you to stay in bed, to play it safe, to shrink back into mediocrity? That inner dialogue, that constant chatter, sets the tone for everything else. You see, you can walk into the world with all the intelligence, all the ambition, all the plans in the universe, but if you haven't conquered the enemy within, those plans will crumble the first time the wind blows against you. The self is complicated. It's not a unified, simple thing. You are divided. One part of you is noble, courageous, disciplined, wanting to strive upwards. And another part is cowardly, resentful, bitter, lazy, even cruel. Both of those parts exist within you right now. And so the question is, who are you feeding? Which part of yourself are you allowing to win, moment by moment, day by day? Because this isn't just philosophy, it's psychology, it's biology, it's the mechanics of how your life plays out. You know this already in your bones, the times you've betrayed yourself when you knew what you should do and you didn't do it. Those are the moments that haunt you. They leave a kind of scar, and that scar whispers, you're weaker than you could be. On the other hand, the times you've risen above your own weakness, dragged yourself through fear, confronted the truth instead of hiding from it, carried the weight you didn't want to carry, those are the moments that define you. Those moments expand your chest, straighten your back, sharpen your eyes. That's where real self-respect is born. So when we talk about conquering yourself, we're not talking about some abstract, mystical idea. We're talking about the discipline to face your fears honestly, to admit, yes, I'm capable of being lazy, bitter, and weak, but I refuse to let that version of me be the one that rules. We're talking about the willingness to sacrifice the part of you that wants comfort for the part of you that wants growth. And let me tell you, that sacrifice isn't easy. It feels like tearing away something alive. But on the other side of it, there is freedom. Freedom isn't doing whatever you feel like. That's chaos. That's slavery to impulse. Freedom is when you are no longer dragged around by fear, resentment, or temptation. Freedom is when you can trust yourself, when you can say, if I set my mind to this, I'll follow through. And people can feel that. They can sense
Né, isto é
it.
importante hoje.
You walk
Acho
into a
eu.
room
Sim.
and you radiate something
Se quiseres
unspoken.
gravar também, vai
That's
gravar
authority.
todos.
That's strength. Not because you dominate others, but because you've already wrestled with yourself and you've come out the other side. The outside world will always throw challenges at you: failure, betrayal, loss, rejection. But if you've already faced the inner chaos, if you've built order inside yourself, then the world cannot break you. It can bruise you, yes, it can wound you, but it cannot destroy you, because you've already seen the worst of who you are, and you've chosen to stand tall regardless. And so the first battle, the most essential one, is not out there. It's right here inside. Conquer that, and the rest of the world will fall into place. If you can master yourself, nothing outside can ever master you. Perspective is everything. It's the lens through which you interpret reality, and that lens has the power to turn your life into either a tragedy or an opportunity. You could be standing in the middle of a storm, with chaos pressing in from every direction, and two people right beside you will experience that storm in completely different ways. One sees disaster, the end of hope, the proof that life is unfair, The other sees challenge, possibility, even the chance to prove themselves in ways they never could have otherwise. Nothing about the storm itself has changed. The difference is perspective. When you shift your perspective, you don't magically change the world outside of you. The hardships are still there, the people who frustrate you are still there, the risks are still there. But what changes is how you position yourself in relation to them. Do you see obstacles as walls designed to stop you? Or do you see them as ladders that can lift you higher if only you have the courage to climb? That distinction, how you see, is often the line between those who crumble and those who rise. Here's something to consider. If you believe life is nothing more than suffering, you'll prove yourself right. You'll interpret every setback as further evidence that the universe is against you. But if you believe suffering contains within it the seeds of growth, then suddenly every painful event becomes meaningful. It's not just pain for the sake of pain anymore. It's transformation disguised as difficulty. And that change in perspective is enough to give you goosebumps, because it takes the very thing that once crushed you and turns it into the reason you stand taller. Most people don't realize how much power they have in this regard. They think perspective is automatic, like eyesight. You open your eyes and the world just appears as it is. But that's not true. You don't see the world as it is. You see it as you are. Your perspective filters reality. It shapes meaning. If you carry resentment, the world looks hostile. If you carry gratitude, the world looks generous. The facts haven't changed. Your lens has. Now, this isn't some naive idea of ignoring suffering. Quite the opposite. You don't deny the pain. You don't sugarcoat the truth. Instead, you choose to orient yourself toward it in a way that empowers rather than paralyzes. That's the difference between despair and hope. Despair says, "This is happening to me, and I'm a victim." Hope says, "This is happening for me, and I can become more because of it." And once you start to see life this way, you realize that perspective is not passive. It's an act of responsibility. The real danger of refusing this responsibility is that you begin to live in a narrative that slowly poisons you. You tell yourself the story that you're weak, that nothing matters, that the cards are stacked against you, and the more you repeat that story, the more real it becomes. But the opposite is also true. The moment you change the narrative, when you decide to see meaning in the struggle, you shift the trajectory of your life. Because once you assign meaning to your pain, it no longer feels like chaos. It feels like purpose. And there's something deeply empowering about that. Think about it. If your struggles have purpose, then your suffering is not wasted. Every hardship becomes a teacher. Every setback becomes a stepping stone. Every loss becomes an opportunity to grow resilience. With that perspective, you stop asking, "Why me?" And you start asking, "What now? What can I build from this?" That question alone separates the person who collapses under life from the person who rises above it. Perspective is not just a mindset, it's a weapon. It transforms weakness into strength, tragedy into wisdom, failure into fuel. And once you grasp that, you become unstoppable. Because no matter what the world throws at you, you carry within you the power to decide what it means. When you change the way you see the world itself begins to change. Comfort is seductive. It whispers to you in the quietest moments, telling you that you've done enough for today, that you've earned the right to stop, that tomorrow will be a better day to try harder. And the danger of comfort is that it feels safe, it feels rational, it feels justified. But over time, it turns into a cage. It slowly strips away your vitality, your ambition, your courage. Before you know it, you're sitting in a life that is smaller than what you're capable of. And you don't even realize the prison walls were built by your own hands. Every truly meaningful moment you've ever experienced, the kind that left you breathless, the kind that gave you goosebumps, didn't happen when you played it safe. They came when you stood at the edge of fear and stepped forward anyway. That's what courage is. Not the absence of fear, but the decision to act in spite of it. Courage is choosing to do the thing that unsettles you, the thing that makes your chest tighten and your knees shake. Because somewhere deep down you know it matters. You can't grow in comfort. That's the harsh truth. Comfort is the enemy of transformation. It protects you from risk, but it also shields you from possibility. And if you think about it, the very moments that define who you are were forged in discomfort when you faced rejection, when you failed publicly, when you fell flat and had to rise again. Those experiences carved you into someone stronger. They burned away the parts of you that were fragile and revealed the parts of you that are unbreakable. And so the choice is simple, though it's anything but easy. You can cling to comfort, knowing it will quietly suffocate your potential. Or you can choose courage, knowing it will demand sacrifice, pain, and effort, but also knowing it will awaken parts of you that would otherwise remain dormant. You might fail, yes. You might fall flat on your face, but failure in the pursuit of courage is infinitely better than safety in the arms of mediocrity. There's a paradox in this. When you choose comfort, you think you're protecting yourself from suffering. But over time, comfort leads to a deeper suffering, the suffering of regret, the suffering of knowing you never tested yourself, the suffering of becoming less than you could have been. When you choose courage, you encounter suffering immediately, fear, pain, uncertainty, but through that suffering you build strength. That strength becomes resilience, and resilience is what allows you to carry the weight of life with dignity. What people don't always realize is that courage is contagious. The moment you decide to step out of your comfort zone, you give permission for others to do the same. Think about someone you admire. It isn't their comfort you look up to, it's their courage. It's the way they leaned into difficulty, the way they didn't shrink back when life demanded more of them. That's what inspires us. That's what ignites us. And the incredible thing is that you can be that person for someone else, simply by choosing to live courageously. Of course, the temptation to retreat never goes away. You'll always hear the voice calling you back to comfort, because comfort is easy. But every time you resist it, every time you take even the smallest courageous step forward, you expand. Your world gets bigger, your capacity increases. You prove to yourself that you can do more than you thought. And over time, those steps accumulate into a life that feels alive, vibrant, purposeful. So don't wait for the fear to disappear. It won't. Don't wait for the perfect conditions, they'll never come. Instead, take the step right now, trembling if you must, but take it anyway. Because comfort won't change you, courage will. Your destiny begins the moment you choose courage over comfort. There's a voice inside your head that never stops talking. You hear it when you wake up, when you're driving, when you're trying to fall asleep at night. And most of the time, you don't even notice it, it's just running in the background, narrating your life. But that voice is not neutral, it has enormous power. It shapes the way you see yourself, the way you see others, the way you see the future. If that voice is harsh, if it constantly tells you you're not enough, that you'll never make it, that you're doomed to fail, then eventually you'll start to believe it. And once you believe it, you begin to live it out. That's the terrifying part. Your inner voice becomes a prophecy. If you tell yourself you're weak, you'll stop trying to be strong. If you tell yourself you're a victim, you'll start looking for evidence that life is against you. And you'll find it because the brain always finds what it's told to look for. But the reverse is also true. If your inner voice says, yes, you're afraid, but you can still step forward, then your behavior changes. You take risks you wouldn't have before. You push past limits you thought were fixed. That voice can become the very thing that turns your life around. Now the question isn't whether you have that voice, we all do. The question is, who's in control of it? Is it running on autopilot, shaped by every criticism, every failure, every insult you've ever absorbed? Or are you actively taking responsibility for it, guiding it, training it to speak truth and strength instead of doubt and despair? That's a serious responsibility, because if you abandon that responsibility, your inner world will be ruled by the most destructive parts of you. You have to understand something. The words you speak to yourself are not just words. They are instructions. They teach your nervous system how to respond. They set the parameters for what you think is possible. If your inner voice says, "I can't," you won't. If it says, "I can try," then at least you open the door to change. And if it says, "I must," then you start moving in a way that no excuse can stop. That's the power of language, even when it's silent, even when no one else can hear it. But here's the danger. Many people speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to someone they love. They are crueler to themselves than they would ever be to a friend. They berate, belittle, and attack themselves, often without realizing it. And then they wonder why they feel small, why they hesitate, why they lack the energy to face the world. Imagine living with someone who insulted you every day, who mocked you, who told you you'd never amount to anything. That would break you down, but for many people, that person is their own inner voice. So the task is not to silence the voice. It can't be silenced. The task is to transform it, to make it an ally instead of an enemy, to make it the kind of voice that pushes you upward, that challenges you to be better without tearing you apart. And you can do this. You can catch yourself in the act, notice the pattern, and choose different words. It doesn't happen all at once, but over time the voice changes. It begins to tell a new story, a stronger story. That's why discipline of thought is so essential. The external world will always throw chaos your way, disappointments, betrayals, failures. But if the voice inside you is steady, if it says, "I can endure this, I can adapt, I can rise," then no external chaos can fully collapse you. The world outside can bruise you, yes, but the voice inside determines whether those bruises heal into scars of weakness or scars of strength. So, listen carefully. Pay attention to what you tell yourself when no one else is around, because that voice is not just commentary, it's command. And it's writing the script of your future, one word at a time. Master the voice within, and you master the direction of your life. Life will break you. There's no avoiding that. You will lose people you love. You will fail at things that matter to you. You will be betrayed, rejected, overlooked, and misunderstood. And if you're not careful, those experiences will convince you that you're powerless, that you're fragile, that you're at the mercy of a world that doesn't care. But that's not the whole story, because within those very same moments of collapse lies the possibility of something extraordinary: resilience. Resilience is not the absence of pain. It's not pretending you're fine when you're falling apart. It's the capacity to endure pain without allowing it to destroy you. It's the ability to take a punch, whether physical, emotional, or spiritual, and stand back up, sometimes trembling, sometimes bleeding, but still standing. And there's something about that act of rising again, against the odds, that transforms you. It hardens you, but not in a way that makes you cold. It hardens you in a way that makes you unbreakable. Think about it. Every person you admire, every hero, every figure who inspires you, became who they are not because life spared them, but because life struck them down and they refused to stay down. Resilience is the thread that runs through greatness. It's the hidden ingredient behind success, leadership, and strength of character. Without it, talent collapses. Without it, intelligence falters. Without it, even the strongest will eventually crumble. And the remarkable thing about resilience is that it's built, not given. No one is born with an infinite supply of it. You forge it in the furnace of failure, disappointment, and struggle. Every time you endure something you thought you couldn't, every time you keep walking when you want to quit, you are laying bricks of resilience. And those bricks form the foundation that holds you steady when the next storm comes. But make no mistake, resilience isn't passive. It's not just waiting for pain to pass, it's active. It's choosing to get up when you could stay down. It's refusing to let bitterness poison you. It's taking the chaos that life hands you and shaping it into something meaningful.
That requires courage. It requires discipline. It requires you to say, yes, this hurts, but I will not let it define me. I will not let it reduce me.
There's a temptation, of course, to think resilience means becoming numb, becoming untouchable. But that's not resilience. That's avoidance. True resilience is different. It means allowing yourself to feel the pain fully, to acknowledge it, to grieve, to struggle, but not to be consumed by it. It's the integration of suffering into strength. It's the decision to let the wound teach you rather than destroy you. And here's the paradox. The more resilient you become, the more alive you feel. Because resilience gives you confidence. It tells you, no matter what happens, I can face it. No matter how hard it gets, I can adapt. That knowledge frees you from constant fear. It gives you the courage to take risks, to love deeply, to pursue things that matter, because you know that even if you fail, you'll recover. And that freedom, that unshakable confidence is what allows you to live fully, not timidly. You don't get to choose whether life will hurt you. It will, but you do get to choose what you become because of it. You can let suffering make you bitter, small, and weak. Or you can let it carve you into someone powerful, someone steady, someone capable of carrying not just your own burdens, but the burdens of others as well. That's the essence of resilience. So when life knocks you down, and it will, don't waste energy asking why. Ask instead, how will I rise from this? What kind of person will I become on the other side? That question changes everything. Because in that question, you move from being a victim of life to a participant in your own transformation. Resilience is the proof that nothing can defeat you unless you decide not to rise. Most people live as though they have all the time in the world. They wait for the right job, the right relationship, the right opportunity, the perfect moment when the stars finally align. And, in the meantime, their lives slip through their fingers. The days blur into weeks, the weeks into years, and before long, the person they wanted to be has become a ghost, a memory of what might have been. That's the tragedy of waiting. It robs you of the only thing you truly own, the present moment. Your legacy doesn't begin someday in the future. It begins right now. Every word you speak, every action you take, every decision you make is shaping it. Legacy isn't just what you leave behind when you're gone. It's the impact you're creating in this very moment, whether you're conscious of it or not. And the uncomfortable truth is that you're already leaving one. The question is whether it's a legacy of mediocrity or a legacy of courage, growth, and strength. Think of the people who have inspired you most. Their legacy didn't begin when their lives ended. It began when they chose to act, when they chose to live fully and authentically, when they took responsibility for who they were becoming. That's what reverberated outward and changed people around them. And that's the same choice that's in front of you right now. You can step into it, or you can keep waiting for a moment that will never come. One of the deepest mistakes people make is believing legacy is about recognition, about fame, status, or applause. But it's not. Legacy is about impact. Sometimes the most profound legacy is invisible. It's the parent who raises a child with integrity. It's the teacher who awakens curiosity in a student. It's the friend who offers encouragement at a moment when despair was winning. Those moments don't make headlines, but they change the trajectory of lives. And that is what legacy truly is. The ripple effect of the choices you make every day. The difficulty is that stepping into this responsibility requires urgency. It means acknowledging that life is short, that time is fragile, and that no one knows how many chances they will get. It means rejecting the fantasy that tomorrow will always be there, because it might not. And if you let that truth sink in not as a source of fear, but as a source of clarity, it will light a fire under you. You'll realize the cost of wasting time is unbearable, because once it's gone, you never get it back. So the question becomes, what do you want your life to stand for? Do you want to be remembered as someone who played small, who hid from their potential, who let fear dictate their choices? Or do you want to be remembered as someone who showed up fully, who carried themselves with strength, who dared to live courageously even when it was hard? That choice is yours, and it isn't made in a single grand gesture. It's made in the ordinary moments, repeated consistently, until they accumulate into something extraordinary. You don't have to know exactly how it will all play out. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to stop waiting and start living, as though the weight of your choices actually matters, because it does. Every act of discipline, every display of courage, every word of encouragement you give to another person is building your legacy in real time. And when you start living that way, you stop drifting, you stop hiding, you begin to embody the kind of person whose life speaks louder than words. Your legacy doesn't start later. It starts now, in this very breath, in this very choice, in this very moment. And the greatest tragedy would be to let it pass by unnoticed. Don't wait for the future. Your legacy is being written now, and every choice is your pen. You've heard it now. The truth that conquering yourself comes before conquering the world, that perspective can transform suffering into strength, that courage demands you step beyond the comfort that's suffocating you. You've heard that the voice inside you is shaping your destiny, that resilience is not optional but essential, and that your legacy isn't waiting somewhere in the distance. It's being written right now. So the question is no longer whether life will test you. It will. The question is, when it does, who will you be? The person who shrinks, who waits, who surrenders? Or the person who rises, who speaks, who acts, who dares to live fully? You are not powerless, you are not fragile, you are not destined for mediocrity. The strength you're searching for is already within you, waiting to be called forth. But it won't appear through wishing or waiting. It will appear when you decide, once and for all, to step into the life that demands everything of you. Because this is the truth worth remembering. The world changes when you do, and it will give you goosebumps when you finally realize what you're capable of.